My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Gallop Out. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson, joined by Jackson Muniz, my usual co-host. Jackson, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. My automatic awake went off, so yeah, no, you look wide awake. Our other guest has no excuse to be asleep because he's out on the East Coast, or at least the Eastern time zone. I don't know if you want to call Kentucky the East Coast or not. You can call it whatever you want, but they're 3 hours ahead of us. He's a special guest, kinda, but he's our good buddy. He's Noah Meagher. He's the king of Keeneland, and he's helping us go through the late pick 4 for opening day. Noah, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much. I noticed that you put that kinda in the parentheses, and if I asked my dad, he used to call me a short busser when I was little, and he probably still would. So it's probably pretty fitting. But anyway, exciting weekend coming up. Obviously, we talked about Santa Anita and the Santa Anita Derby last night. Looking forward to that on Saturday, and then once Keeneland starts on Friday, I went to class today. Once Friday starts, I will not be attending. So there you go.
Yeah, I can tell that you're getting down with the Keeneland sickness, so I wouldn't expect you to be there. For the record, I put special guest and then in parentheses, kinda, not because of any short bus implications, just because we see you all the time, and you know we have a show with you once a week, so you're more of just a guest. But anyway, Keeneland's back, so Noah obviously had to get you on because it's been a hot minute, and you're the king of Keeneland. So the three of us, we got to dive into this late pick 4. 3 graded stakes, including the grade 1 Ashland, and then a cluster fuck of a race in race number 10, where you'll see all 3 of our top picks are all over the place. Yeah, so we'll get on into it. Yeah, it's gonna be that kind of day, you know. I'm saying whatever. No one's gonna get me in trouble. All right, we'll go into race number 7. It's the grade 2 Beaumont Stakes for 3-year-old fillies. It's an all 3-year-old late pick 4. I'm going 5-2-3, Jackson 5-2-4, Noah 2-1-4. Noah, we'll start with you just bluffing. It's Luis Saez.
These guys are copying picks again. I mean,
Ryan literally just steals all my picks. It's unbelievable how little work he does on his own. He just waits for me to send the picks and then uses the exact same ones. It's unbelievable.
This is absolute slander because Jackson sent his picks in 3 minutes before the showtime. So I would like to say my picks have been in there since this morning, since before the show with Rachel McLaughlin, which was, I think, better than what this is going to be. But this is going to be pretty funny. You say highlight of my life? I mean, yeah, pretty close. All right, Noah, number 2, just bluffing. So we're going 7 furlongs for the 3 year. Are we going 7 furlongs?
Yes, we are.
We're going 7 furlongs for the 3-year-old fillies. How did you land on this one as your top pick?
Yeah, I thought she was just one of the couple logicals that I thought I could maybe trust or actually had any interest in betting. She was pretty impressive at a big price on debut, and I think that was that LeCompte Day, if I'm not mistaken. So they debuted her on a pretty good day over at Fairgrounds on January 17th. She didn't really take all that much money, but she won like she should have. Beat that field, pretty handily, and then went against older horses, actually kind of dueled with a 4-year-old who I think could be okay. Can't remember where I can't remember the barn that she comes from, but you kind of look at it at face value and you say, oh, 1-2, she probably should have won. But she got into a pretty good speed duel with an older horse and just wasn't good enough that day. So I think with the stretch out to 7, seems like she should kind of control things out in front. And we talk about it time and time again, especially here at Keeneland. I mean, anytime you get Luis Saez on the front end, he's a guy that's pretty tough to pass. So out of the kind of logicals here, I agree with you guys. I think she's the one that I want.
Yeah, it's tough to pass Luis Saez in the stretch. Jackson, you picked this horse in second, as did I, because you copied my picks. So give your points on the number 2, just bluffing, and then why you don't have the number 3, sneaky good, anywhere in your top 3.
Yeah, I mean, just bluffing is the speed of the speed. She's run very well as of late. The one concern I had from the reason I have her underneath is she does have to come off Lasix for the first time, and it is a question mark, especially with horses that tend to have her early speed. But she's going to be very tough in here if she shows up with the races she ran down at the fairgrounds. As far as Think Good goes, I'm not entirely against her. I think this is a pretty evenly matched group, and I don't think this race is going to be bet that way. She's done very little wrong. She keeps improving, and last time ran well in the Honeybee against Explorer and Counting Stars, who are probably two of the top 3 favorites right now for the Oaks. So she's kept good company. I just wish she ran a little better in the Ford Gal 2-back sprinting when I thought she got a pretty good setup that day and was kind of just third best. I wish she ran better that day, but there's no doubt if she gets the right kind of setup in here, she can be dangerous. I just don't want to take her at a short price.
Yeah, that's very fair. I picked her in third because I do think she's kind of the third best horse. You and I both landed on the same top pick, number 5, Baraka. So I'll stick with you as you roll your eyes, getting blinkers on for Brendan Walsh. Coming off a layoff to start the 3-year-old season, but why'd you like this filly?
Yeah, I can't believe you keep copying me. Look, she ran some numbers as a 2-year-old that aren't that far off what these horses have kind of been running this spring that are older 3-year-olds. So if she runs back to those races, she's supposed to be close. I mean, she's not that far off from what it's going to take to win. And if she's improved at all from 2 to 3, if she's grown up over the winter and she can improve, she's supposed to be amongst the favorites in this race. And she's one that isn't going to be bet that way. Blinkers going on, outside of all the other speeds. So, she's going to get a good trip. And if you're able to get that 8-1 price, I think it's pretty good, or 6-1 price, excuse me. I think it's pretty good value in a race like this.
I would certainly agree with that. You get blinkers on for the debut for the 3-year-old season. And on top of all that, the 2, well, I think that horse is dangerous from a speed perspective. She does have to go off Lasix and kind of answer that question. I'm not saying she can't, but I know Baraka, who's never ran with Lasix, obviously only running as a 2-year-old. I know she runs fine without them. I think the comeback spot, and I think one turn is typically going to be where she's best. She seemed to kind of give up around, a little before, I guess, 7 furlongs, but around the half-mile pole, she kind of wrapped it in for the day. So that's reasonable enough, but I do think Baraka is a big shot in here. No, we'll go back out to
you guys. What do you guys think of the turf work? I didn't really know what to make of that because I respect her. I mean, her first 2 races were good. I mean, obviously, it seems like she just didn't see out the 8.5 furlongs last time. But I don't know. It maybe seems like with the turf influence from Walsh, they maybe wanted to try on turf. I didn't know what to do with that.
I was a little confused by it as well. I mean, obviously the breeding for Oscar Performance, Brendan Walsh, yeah, he's a prolific turf trainer as well as dirt. So I think maybe they thought about it for a little bit, and maybe she didn't work as good. I wasn't able to watch that work over the grass, but maybe it just wasn't a turfy kind of work. So they went back onto the dirt, and she's been steady on the dirt since then. So I don't know. I'm not too hesitant just because 6-1 on the morning line is fair enough value for me. Jackson,
she also is a daughter of Oscar Performance, so you would think the line should be able to do both, but I don't know. Sure. I went between her and the 4 because I thought those 2 were kind of the ones that were kind of the newcomers where you haven't seen them in a while and could maybe step up big. But the 4 I just thought was interesting because she was one of the few horses we see that actually run twice at the Keeneland meet in the fall. I thought she ran fine both times. She was a winner of that non-winners at 2 lifetime at the beginning of the meet. I think that might have been opening day, and then they ran her once again in the Myrtlewood. You haven't seen her for a while, but I thought she was working well, and it just seems like for Rudy Brissett to bring her back off of some pretty slow figures compared to the rest of this group, off this long layoff into this race and attract IRAD, I just thought that was pretty interesting and enough for me to throw her in the mix.
Yeah, certainly, and she's going to be forward. You get IRAD. Jackson, you also have this horse in third. Anything to add?
No, I echo all the points that Ryan brought up, or excuse me, Noah brought up. And she seems to be training well in preparation for this. The most recent work I saw, she went in company with Bodacious Bay, who's debuting earlier on the card. It was a filly I've been waiting for her to run for like 6 months now. She's 12-1 in that loaded maiden race earlier, so make sure you guys bet her. But yeah, I think there's a lot to like, and she's another one that's going to get forwardly placed, so that's always dangerous on this racetrack.
She is going to be dangerous without a doubt. We'll check in with the chat real quick before we move on. What's up, fellas? From Jose Ramirez. Jose, what's going on? A question, a fine Chardonnay. No love from our guy, Felipe Hernandez. Any love for the Wilkes trainee to the far outside?
I think my general opinion is I don't think the fillies coming from Gulfstream are any good at all, which is kind of why I don't really love Sneaky Good. Because like Jackson said, I would have expected her to run a little bit better in the forward gal. And I know Mythical ran big that day, and maybe she needed one off the bench. But even though it was an 84 buyer, it just visually I didn't really love what I saw. And she's also going to be 3-1 at best in here. And I just think there are more appealing runners with better prices.
I don't disagree with that. Noah, you're the king of Keeneland, so I'll ask you this question first. We obviously have horses coming from primarily Gulfstream, Fairgrounds, and Turfway. Whether it's turf or dirt, is there a racetrack that you notice that the form translates the best coming over, and one that maybe doesn't translate at all, or is it just kind of random every year?
I don't know. It's a tough question to ask. I always try to key in on the Turfway form just because a lot of people don't follow it as closely as myself, or I mean Jackson follows it a lot more than I do from time to time. But it just seems like people don't really know what to do with that form, and you can kind of get some hidden value. So anytime I see a horse that's been running at Turfway and been doing well, or even have a race like the one where there was a complete dud in there, and there's a horse I like in the next race that actually threw a dud in at Turfway. I just feel like people are going to not put too much stock into some of that form, and maybe put too much stock into some bad efforts on there. So Turfway is one I'm always looking forward to bet, especially if I don't have a general opinion in the race. Then maybe I'll just take a shot with a Turfway horse.
I like it. We'll check in with the chat again because a couple more people. Any solid long shots to help me out on opening day at Keeneland, says Gary Kuntz. Jackson, one more time with the name of that horse, Bodacious Bay, and what race? The maiden race at Keeneland?
Race 4, Bodacious Bay.
Race 4. And Keith, what's up, Keith? Finally catching you guys live. Great show as always. We appreciate it. We'll wrap up race 7. I'm going 5-2-3. Jackson copying me with 5-2-4, and Noah going 2-1-4. Move on to race 8. Mile and a 16th on the grass. It's the Transylvania Stakes for the 3-year-old boys. Put the picks up on the screen now. I'm going 2-7-3, Jackson 8-4-7, and Noah 5-1-2. So we're all going different directions here. Jackson, my co-host, I'm throwing it out to you. Led Zeppelin fan or just taking IRAD at 15-1 here?
Who is that?
Led Zeppelin?
Bro.
All right.
Noah,
Noah, we're going to go to you for the 5 Street Beast as Jackson's on timeout. So why do you like the number 5 Street Beast for the best Kentucky trainer in the country?
I should just kick this guy off the show. I
mean, that was crazy.
I just kind of mentioned it. I mean, Street Beast, I don't exactly know what happened. Completely stopped last time in the Battaglia, but is clearly, obviously likes the turf and ran just fine against Full Effort, who ended up coming back and won the Jeff Ruby. So Street Beast is one where he's going to be forwardly situated. It's one of those situations where people will see that last race and just kind of throw him out, and you'll get 5 or 6-1 versus if he would have ran top 3 in that race, he might be 3-1 or 7-2 in that range. So I like him quite a bit. He's going to be forwardly placed, and he doesn't need the lead as well. You can see in the race at Keeneland, the race at Kentucky Downs, the second race where he was able to win that $1 million listed stake, which is pretty funny to see. But anyway, he was able to sit off nicely, and I actually thought his Breeders' Cup run was kind of sneaky good because he actually went with 2 speed horses, an Outfielder and Hey Nene, who I think we could argue is probably better going around one turn. He went with those 2 for about a furlong and a half, and then Machado decided to back off, then made a wide run around those 2, and then just got run down late. I mean, he ran pretty inefficiently, so I thought I could make a case that he ran well there, and he's certainly got buyers and numbers that fit amongst this group, and just because that last race, I think you might get a bit of a better price.
I think so too. And Stark Contrast has obviously come out to run pretty well out of there. Last seen at Turfway in the Jeff Ruby Stakes with a nice second behind Full Effort. And obviously won the start to the 3-year-old season as well. Yeah, Street Beast, I think definitely deserves a look. I had that horse 4th in here. Jackson, you don't have the horse anywhere, and I guess I'll go take you off a timeout now to talk about Zeppelin. We won't talk about the fact that you lack music knowledge, but hopefully your horse racing knowledge is a little bit better.
Yeah, I Googled them. Apparently they were a famous band in like the 60s, but they weren't as famous as the Beatles, so that's why I don't know who they are. Look, when I look at this field, it feels like there's a lot of horses that want to be forwardly placed, a lot of horses that want to be close to lead, and I think this pace could really heat up for someone from way out of it. I'm hoping that Zeppelin kind of fits that bill because that's his running style. He's going to drop out the back, he's going to make one run, and we'll see if he's good enough, but I don't really think he's done anything wrong in his career up at this point. Even the most recent race where he lost to a couple of these, I think he just those horses got the jump on him, and he kind of lost position coming around the turn into the home stretch. And by the time he got clear, though, they were gone. Like he was never going to catch him at Gulfstream. And I just think 15-1 is way too high of a price on a horse that has a big late kick that continues to improve. And he also has Irad Ortiz in the irons for this race, so maybe he won't actually be 15-1. But I think he's just as good as anyone else in this race, and sure seems like he's not going to be bet that way.
Yeah, I do think he's going to take money just because of the jockey Irad aboard, but I still think you'll get around 10-1, if not a little bit better. But this is one that is going to drop out the back, make that one run, and we do see that sometimes be effective be effective more often than not, I should say, over the Keeneland grass. I took a horse that's been in good form since stretching out to 2 turns. That's the number 2 Vazi for Brendan Walsh. Obviously, you get Flavien Prat aboard. Has just won those last 2 by a neck, so obviously just manages to kind of get the job done, and I'm not always confident that the Gulfstream form is going to transfer over, but this is a horse that's going to be sitting that kind of pocket trip. I would imagine with the rail runner, maybe a little bit quicker, and I think Johnny's probably going to have the rail there, and then I would imagine Vazi is in that second, third kind of flight of horses, again, just saving all the ground going, and then it's going to tip out. We'll see what that horse has. Is going to get the jump on a lot of those deep closers, so as long as the pace isn't suicidal up front, I do think this horse should be able to hang on and get the win there. So sorry, my cat just jumped into the window, so if you heard a bunch of banging, that's what that was. Noah, we'll go to you because the number 1 Proton is a horse that I remember when we spoke about on a show, I believe for the October 31st, coming in from the Laurel Futurity. Ran a disappointing second that day behind Conducted, but you like this horse in here, second start to the 3-year-old season.
Yeah, I think he's a little interesting, and I'd be curious to hear what Will has to say about this, but I kind of feel like after watching his races, he might be a little bit better with a target. They broke basically on top, and it wasn't really all that close in the Columbia, and then Johnny V did as best he could to try to take back and got outside of the front runner that day, and they were going so slow that, he kind of had to take over at the quarter pole because otherwise the rest of the field was just going to swallow him. And then once again, he kind of found himself on an island, and he was just kind of out there running on his own. And, Albiland's a pretty decent runner and had some proven Gulfstream form and kind of translated that over to Tampa Bay. I think he's a pretty good runner for the Mark Casse barn. And I kind of thought that Johnny V didn't fall asleep on the wheel, but I thought Albiland just kind of made a move, and Johnny wasn't, he wasn't ready for that. But I like the way that he fought on, and Naughty Nix was coming on late and held him off for second. So there is some fight. So I wonder if, the tactics are a little bit different today, where they just kind of break from the inside, kind of sit the pocket and run somebody down late. But I thought he was a little interesting just because of the weird way that he was ridden last time.
Yeah, definitely a little interesting. I think this is the most wide open race in the sequence that we'll be covering today. Could certainly go many different directions. Jackson, I'll go to you. Please tell me you know who Roger Atfield is, even though I don't think that's who this horse is named after.
Got nothing for you.
All right. Well, go ahead, man. I mean, at least it's not named after him. So, okay.
All I got is horse racing knowledge, man. Sorry. Maybe a little bit of football too. That's about it. Yeah, look, this horse was kind of put in a difficult spot last time, I thought, in the Jeff Battaglia. Wasn't the easiest race ever. And if you pay attention to Turfway, going 2 turns, the 2 wide, 3 wide pricing trip is just the kiss of death. I mean, so few horses run well with that trip. So to me, it wasn't a surprise at all that he didn't really run that great when he split the field that day. And I'm hoping he's able to get back or maybe even build upon that form he showed last year as a 2-year-old, because he ran some good races in New York. And it's not like he's going to be as close as he was last time either, because when he was running well on the grass in New York, he was coming from a little bit off of it, not too far off. And he beat a couple of these horses he's going to face again in Noble Dynasty and Honey Dutch on November the 7th at Aqueduct. So I think he's going to improve second off the bench. It's just a matter of, can he work out some kind of trip in this race that seems to have a lot of speed. But again, because of the way he ran on his debut and in his second career start, I think he might be able to come from a little bit further off than we've seen him do recently. So that's the hope with this horse. 12-1 is also a pretty good price. I agree with you guys. This race is absolutely wide open.
So Roger Atfield, you claim to have only horse racing knowledge. One more time, Roger Atfield.
See the trainer?
Yeah.
Oh, there's like a million outfields, bro. Aren't there like 3 of them?
Atfield, not outfield.
I know.
I said Atfield.
Oh, they said outfield.
Outfielder is the Wesley Ward horse that's over bet in every race.
I thought you were going to mention Schwarzenegger, who he beat, who was like the talk of the town for about 10 weeks last summer.
You say that word really confident.
28-1. You guys can't even talk.
All right. We'll go to the number 7. Remember Mamba. I picked this horse in second. Jackson picked this horse in third. Look, this horse has done very little wrong. Won the debut off Lasix over this track at Keeneland. So obviously that's a huge vote of confidence. And Jackson, I don't know about you, but my thoughts are any horse that is kind of won his first 2 races and done it in such convincing fashion over the grass. I know it's been tough to kind of keep him consistently at the races from what it looks like, but his work tab looks rather steady leading into this effort. And I mean, he's blown away his two races. Oh my goodness. He's won by open lengths in his first 2 races so far. I'm like Noah last night.
Yeah, you are.
I respect this horse for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. He's done very little. He's done nothing wrong. He's been very impressive both of his races. This is a much tougher group than the 2 fields he's faced up at this point, though. And it's just a matter of how short of a price are you willing to take on this horse? Because he's going to take money again going out for Cherie, because she gets hammered at Keeneland. I mean, for a good reason. She's very, very, very good, but she does get overbet.
She gets hammered at Keeneland, but not in the same way Noah gets hammered at Keeneland. Hashtag Keeneland Breeze. Hashtag lightweight.
But
that's
the
beauty
of Keeneland, though, because I mean, look at this horse, and what is he, the 5th or 6th fastest horse in this race? I mean, Jackson's horse at 15-1 is faster than this horse. I know he's been smoking fields, but he hasn't been facing anything that he's going to be facing on Saturday. And this horse is going to be 5-2 because it's Cherie and it's Kobe horse. I mean, this is just why I love Keeneland, because you get favorites like this that I just want nothing to do with.
And and the Keeneland lemonades too.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great point. Hashtag hammer.
I don't have anything to push back on that point, Noah, because I do agree he's going to be overbet. That's why I couldn't pick this horse on top, but I do think if he takes another step forward for Cherie DeVoe, he could be dangerous, but there's plenty of horses faster than him, and he's going to get bet. We'll wrap up race number 8. I'm going 2-7-3. Jackson going 8-4-7. Noah going 5-1-2. Race number 9, it's the Grade 1 Ashland Stakes going a mile and a 16th, 100 Oaks points on the line, or 100 points to the winner. 50 to second, 25 to third, and then like 10-5 or something. But Oaks points on the line, 3-year-old fillies. Picks are up. I'm going 3-2-4. Jackson going 3-4-2. Noah going 2-3-4. No surprise. Biggest Ben Colebrook fan in the building is not in the building, is Tim Maher. Second biggest is Noah Meagher. So Noah, you got to lead us off. Percy's Bar, unlucky last year in the Alcibiades when DQ'd over Tommy Joe.
Yeah, I think there's like a typo. There's a D next to her name for that race. I'm not exactly sure why that's there. But anyways, this is very similar to the situation that happened last year, because Tommy Joe had smoked her in the spinaway. And then, she was the talk of the town at that time, just, springboard her to the Breeders' Cup. And she probably should have been taken down. But Tommy Joe got beat what I thought was on the square. I mean, I don't think Tommy Joe was ever going by. And it's a very similar situation because Zany has obviously been the talk of the town. I mean, you could make the case that she's, the favorite for the Oaks right now. And that's what they have their sights on. I mean, I don't think they necessarily have to win this race. With that being said, I would never touch Zany at 2-5. And I think that's probably what she's going to be. But she also could smoke Percy's Bar. And the feeling here is this is kind of Percy's Bar's Super Bowl, where if they want to get into the Oaks, they have to win this race. And it looks like she's working well enough to be able to pull that off. So I'll take my revenge with her against a Pletcher filly in the Grade 1. What is this, Ashland?
Yeah, Grade 1 Ashland. I don't necessarily have anything to push back on. You're going to get a much, much better price. But Jackson, in my opinion, I said this a little while ago, I thought Zany was the Oaks favorite a little bit ago. You disagreed with that one. I don't see how she loses here. She's just been blowing the doors off fields, going 2 turns. She's figuring things out, so maybe she's a little bit green. So maybe there is a scenario where Zany does the bumping on Percy's Bar, and there's a bit of an inverse going on. But I don't know. From what I've seen from Zany, if she figures things out and puts everything together, she's going to be a very talented filly.
Well, just to counter Noah's point, Zany doesn't have enough points right now to run in the Oaks. Like she also needs to run well. She only has 30 points. I think she's like 20th or 21st or something. She's way down there.
Oh,
so
really?
they're training to win this race because they need the points. And Yeah, I think she's supposed to be pretty tough in here. Obviously, she beat Life of Joy last time, who came back and really flattered that form down at the fairgrounds. And she also beat that horse while being, having little, what's your horse's name? Robusta. And she was kind of refusing to switch leads the entire stretch, and that's kind of why she was green. It was Irad trying to get her switch leads, and I don't know if she ever did. If she did, it was like the last 50 yards or so. So if she's got that figured out, she's supposed to be tough, and she's also supposed to get the pace in front of her to flatter her riding style. So, it's not exciting. She's going to be 1-2 in here, but I do think she's supposed to win, and I'm not really trying to beat her.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been waiting for her to run back because I do think she's very, very talented. She's just got to figure those things out. So it's the weekend of hoping that these horses figure themselves out, whether it's Zany in the Ashland or Robusta in the Santa Anita Derby. Both of them, we have to kind of get things going. We're just watching the finish. Yeah, she was super green because, as Jackson mentioned, wouldn't quite switch leads till right there. And then even when she did, she still kind of wandered a little bit, but she's still figuring things out. If she does, she's going to be very dangerous. Last horse we got to talk about is the number 4, French Friction, for Mark Casse. Christian Torres has the mount. This one has to stretch out around 2 turns. Obviously, the breeding's not a problem. Jackson, I will go to Noah, and I will see what he has to think about this horse. He picked this one in 3rd. We all have this horse somewhere in our top 3.
Well, I was a bit surprised because I was just ready to, go 2-3, but I guess we did something special for the special guest, and we actually went with 3 picks this time, which is something I don't typically see on the show. But anyway, I mean, she'd just be a 3rd horse. She's won her 2 sprints pretty well, but she's got to hand her that first 2-turn test. And I mean, the only race she really wins is if the 2 and the 3 don't show up. She'd have to hope that both of them don't show up, and I feel like that's a pretty unlikely scenario.
Yeah, Jackson, what are your thoughts on this horse? I feel like she's kind of clearly the 3rd best in this group, but she could potentially get, 2nd in this race. But I couldn't have her winning.
If the 5 scratches, I would upgrade her and take a much longer look. But the 5's presence in here seems like it's going to screw her up from a pace perspective.
I agree. Yeah, pace-wise, I do think Omaha Bay is probably going to compromise her there. We'll wrap up the Grade 1 Ashland. I'm going 3-2-4. Jackson going 3-4-2. Noah going 2-3-4. Last note, the rail horse Nikon is going to be in New York, which does mean Percy's Bar will be on the rail for the race. Race number 10. Picks are up on the screen. We're going a mile for the 3-year-olds, Maiden Special Weight Company. This race was mentioned as an absolute clusterfuck at the beginning of the show, and I think our picks demonstrate that. I'm going 2-7-1, Jackson 1-3-2, Noah 3-1-10. Jackson, we'll start with you. All 3 of us have this horse somewhere in our top 3. It's the only real commonality that I see. What are your thoughts on the rail horse prize pick for Brian Lynch and Joel Rosario?
Yeah, I think he's got a good shot in here. Obviously, they're running him on the dirt for a while throughout the winter, and he was running fine, nothing special. But I thought he really picked it up when he went on the grass for the first time last time. And it wasn't like he got a good trip in that race. I mean, he was legit through 4 wide that whole first turn. He lost a lot of ground, chasing a fast pace. He was wide again in the final turn. Tried to make the lead and just got a little tired late. I think the faster pace and the ground loss kind of ended up taking its toll. And now he finds himself in a race where he's drawn on the inside. He's not going to be wide. He's going to either sit the pocket or find himself in front in a race that I didn't think had a whole lot of speed in here. He could be on the lead in this race, but if not, like I said, he's just going to sit in the pocket behind a softer pace. He'll save a lot more ground than he did last time. And I just think he's going to trip out, and he's run every bit as fast as everyone else in this race. So 5-1, sign me up.
Yeah, I picked this horse in 3rd. No, I want to get your thoughts as you picked this horse in 2nd. If I could have gotten I don't want to say a better jockey, because I do think Joel Rosario is still good. I would love to see Joel give one of those patented rides where he gets a horse to the front on the lead because he can get them to relax so well, and he is a very strong finisher. I'd love to see a ride like that, but with Joel right now, I don't know that we can guarantee that sort of ride. Would have loved if Saez was on this horse, I probably would have had her as if not a lone A, a strong A in here, just because of I think the rail is an advantage with her speed, or his speed, I should say, to get to the lead and take them all the way around there. Noah, your thoughts on the Rail Runner prize pick?
Well, that's what you would hope he would do, right? Because especially on this Keeneland turf course, that tactical speed from the inside is very deadly, especially in a race that Jackson said just doesn't really have a ton of speed or established front runners in it. So it should be a pretty likely scenario that Joel is able to kind of get him out and if he wants to dictate things, he can. If not, he's just going to sit in the pocket. And in a race where I feel like a lot of these horses are pretty evenly matched, it's going to be pretty trip dependent. So if Joel's able to find himself in, one of those two scenarios, I think he's a very likely winner of this race.
I think so as well. Yeah. All right. I'll move on. Number 2, post position number 2 is Heading, who I ended up picking up on top. Johnny V for Graham Motion. I think a slight upgrade from David Egan, but I just love the way Johnny is able to ride. Ran behind Vazzy, and I picked Vazzy on top. So obviously got to go right back here if I like that form. I do think this Graham Motion trainee is heading in the right direction. Second off the bench and shipping over from Great Britain. Has had some time since that first start where it closed into a pace that probably favored him a little bit, but you have 2 next out winners out of that. And this horse has been, training very steadily, which I mention all the time, but I like to see it. Hasn't seemed to miss really any works in there. I think this is one where might need a little bit of pace, and I wonder where that comes from. But I also think, given those fractions last time, it wasn't super far off. This is one that could be maybe a little bit closer than that last race might hint at. So I thought Heading this really deserved a look, especially at 6-1. Jackson, our buddy Will Humphrey, said he doesn't know much about this horse, which that's all the green flags I need.
That's not what I heard, but okay.
What did you hear?
Well,
I heard
he added
a head case.
He added a little bit extra, but
that's all.
That makes me feel even a little bit better because all the ones that he's off, they typically win, i.e. test score. All the one that he's on, that he's, I say off as in like, thinks maybe needs one or whatever. It's the same rule with Dougie, It's
Dougie flew all the way out to Pavlovian's Louisiana Derby, and that horse ran monstrous.
Well, I told you guys he was running monstrous. You guys just chose not to believe me. So
you just contradict yourself.
That's not important for this show. The show deals in just saying things. Noah, any thoughts on the 2 Heading before I give you? No, you didn't. You don't have the 2. Jackson, any thoughts on the 2 Heading?
Next horse.
Great. Noah, talk about the 3 Ravenous, Flavian Pratt, Brendan Walsh, 10-1.
Yeah, I'm glad Jackson has this horse in the mix because it's just one of those races where I want to price, and I think regardless of connections, just because he is a little bit slower compared to some of the other runners in this field, I think the price most likely should stick. I wouldn't think he'd be less than 8, hopefully. But anyway, he's a horse that Walsh debuted at 2 turns pretty early on in his 2-year-old career. It was the end of October. I think that was right after the Keeneland meet ended up wrapping up. And he drew wide and, had a pretty wide trip. And I thought it ran fine, closed into a pretty slow pace that day. And then shipped over to Turfway, lost absolutely all chance at the break, and actually ended up almost winning that race. Now you question, who was he running against? The number also didn't really come back all that fast, but that was all the way back in December. So I have to imagine that there's been, some improvement from there. He gets Lasix for the first time. He gets Pratt, which obviously isn't a bad thing. And like I said, I think the price will stick. So in a race that's completely wide open, and as Ryan likes to say, a clusterfuck, this is the direction that I'm going.
Yeah, we can't drop many F-bombs on many of the shows, but this is going to be an exception to that rule. Jackson, you also have the 3 in the mix. Give us your points on this horse.
Yeah, I liked this grass race a lot more than I liked the synthetic try. And I do agree with Noah. He didn't have the best trip in there. And the winner got just a dream run up the fence in that race. I actually thought he ran fine. But the grass race was one of those races where he was he had tough posts. He was wide each and every step of the way. And also the pace really held together. He closed quite a bit of ground despite all those things working against him. I thought it was a race you're really supposed to upgrade. The issue is, as we talked about a minute ago, that there's just not a whole lot of speed in this race. So he's going to need some help up front because he's a horse that doesn't have any speed whatsoever. But if some unexpected pace does develop, he's going to be flying down the lane late.
He is going to be flying late. Yeah, you got to worry about the pace scenario, but I pulled up the race chart for the debut. First, second, third place finishers in that debut race were all up towards the front end. They were first, second, third throughout the running of the race. This is the only horse that closed, and he closed from dead last. So you got to like the ability to close into a pace against kind of the race flow. I just thought might be left with a little too much to do, but maybe the Lasix helps him, have maybe a little more bottom to him. One of the last ones we'll talk about before going to the 10 for Noah, the 7 Obelisk. For Lindsay Schultz and Jaime Torres. This one kind of ran in place in that first route. I think he finished off maybe a little bit better than he ran, the rest of the race. But I do think he can take a step up in his second time routing. I think he's again, he's sorry. I think he's going to be tactically placed in a race that we've talked about doesn't have a whole lot of speed to it. So I think that's going to kind of give him an advantage early on. I gave the 8 a look as well, just the outside. He's a charmer, just because Ethan West doesn't have a whole lot of 6-figure horses. He's typically in that $2,500 to $15,000 range. So that he's got a nice one. And he's a very capable trainer. So that's one that I thought with Junior Alvarado, I had that one, I believe, in 4th. So that was one I thought might be a threat to take him wire to wire. But obviously, I like the form from the He's a Charmer Obelisk race as they both come out of there. Noah, take us home. The 10 Democracy Defender, Irad Ortiz and Jorge Abreu.
Yeah, I thought he ran significantly better than the 2 did, the motion runner in his debut. It was a big price that day, but made a pretty premature move and got caught by Bossi. So if Bossi is able to get the job done once again, it would further flatter the form as he kind of came back and was able to replicate that victory. And then in the Tampa race, I know the buyer came back quite significantly lower than his original debut, which obviously is something that you don't like to see. But I thought there were enough excuses in that race to give him maybe one more try. And I'd like him a little bit more, but the Thet Post is just, it's such an Achilles heel from out there. I mean, it's going to be really tough. And I mean, I have to imagine in a race that's pretty wide open, people are just going to gravitate to Irad. And I don't really know if, that's really going to make all the difference from out there. So he's one I would use in a Tour Pick 3 scenario or Pick 5, just because I'd be going really deep in a race like this. But he's one I don't really have a ton of interest in betting on the win end.
Yeah, it's a 10 Democracy Defender. I do think he's going to take a lot of money. He's one that's going to, if he wins, he'll beat me, just because I think he's going to take too much money for his overall chance in the race. That was the late Pick 4. We don't have Pick 4 tickets for you, but it's good to have Keeneland back. They obviously start on Friday. We have Thursday Santa Anita racing tomorrow for anybody that wants to get in on that, because after Sunday they take that 2-week break. So, we missed Turfway, of course, but Santa Anita on Thursday, there's worse things than that.
No doubt.
All right, there we go. For our guest, Mr. Keeneland, Noah Meagher, special guest, and my co-host, Jackson Muniz. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys later today, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Andy Serling joins us. We're going over the 3 big Derby preps, so that will be fun. And until then, we'll see you next time.